Ezra?
All right, we're here to talk about this very cool Space Junk Sabers Scrapflex that came to me as one of pair for a returning customer. So this demo is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to go through a bunch of this rigmarole I normally do. I'm going to try to keep it based on what went on with the chassis and electronics because I do have printouts for the customer. A lot of the presets are kind of the same that I've done for this customer in the past. So without further ado, let's drop down to the table. Let's show off what went on with the electronics, show off the very cool resin greeblie chassis design, all the things that went in there, and then we'll hop back out. I'll show some presets. Again, I won't go into too much detail in the function, but I'll show off some presets and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. All right, so let's talk about this Space Junk Sabers Scrapflex that I was commissioned to install. This is one of two that I did kind of in tandem, so the chassis are a little bit thematically similar, but these are two different hilts that came from Nevin, and I believe this one was either picked up secondhand or was previously installed and the current client wanted to just revamp it. So it went back to Nevin to kind of prepare for that, and then to me. So thankfully, Nevin, provides these switches. These are Kalymian Custom Sabers, and I believe the etch work may have been done by Chris Royal. You'd have to confirm with Nevin. But the one thing I like about Nevin's work, these are the first two that I actually got a chance to have my hands on, is that one, obviously it's beautiful, but two, he does a lot of, he just focuses on the details. So all these screws, are either flat or hex. And then, he provided on both of the hilts that I'm about to demo, a retention screw that looks like it's part of the saber and isn't just like a set screw, although there's nothing wrong with that. Also provides a blade plug. I believe this is a 7/8 hilt, so we have to squeeze the bunny ears. So we got a little roller bearing there. I don't know if I can get this to show up on camera. Little roller bearing there with what looks to be like a shaver head at the bottom. Cool little greeblie. So yeah, let's talk about it. We got a Shadowfoil Neopixel up top. This is the first time I was able to successfully figure out, with the help of the folks at the Crucible, including Frederick and Meaty something or other, I'm forgetting his username, helped me out with two different ways to subdivide this PCB into 3 concentric rings. So if you count the Neopixels there, you've got 12 on the outside, 8 in the middle, and 4 in the center. So I was able to figure out how to subdivide that in the config. So there will be 10 blade styles, and I'll go over why that is. But basically, the main blade, 3 or 4 actually subdivisions here because we have a weird count for the emitter, and then 6 on the chassis. I think previously the chassis was accessed here, and it was probably like a static chassis, but we can see here I was able to get my Shtok Rotary PCB up in there. You can see the top of the chassis has the flat part. So we never have to separate it there, but if anything ever happens with the chassis, like if it gets stuck or something, which it shouldn't, but obviously you can separate it there and kind of push with your finger out. But what we do is get to everything here at the pommel. One thing I will say on both of these sabers, just because I could, you can see I've stacked 2 thin neodymium magnets in there so that the D-ring, while it's not super strong, just when you're waving it around, you don't hear the D-ring flop around as much. You can, like if you get violent with it. Actually, what you're hearing there is the bunny ears. But yeah, I mean, I love Nevin's attention to detail. So just real quick, let me, before I move on, show all that here. So we don't have the use of the aux here. What we have are 2, like I said, Kalymian Custom Sabers soft switches in aluminum tops. Just a cool little accent here on each side. Obviously the etched shroud. heat staining, gorgeous, just gorgeous work here. Obviously, Nevin's infamous speeder bike TCSS grip here. I'm not sure which version of this pommel, who these comes from, but obviously we've got a little coupler here. But yeah, like I said, how we get to everything is we just take the pommel cap off. I did have to print a little offset ring here. I did that in FDM. I keep forgetting where my camera is. I did have to do that in FDM. Well, I didn't have to do it in FDM. I just did because it's a little bit more robust. So to the client, if that should ever come off, which it shouldn't, here, I'll show you why. What I was able to do here is, if you can see on the inside, on each of these concentric parts, it sticks in. But it's super subtle, so you can't even see it, and it allows for a lot of sound pass-through. But yeah, I can send you that file since I know you have a 3D printer. And then our chassis just comes out, okay? So here's our chassis. I did a highly detailed, see if I can get this to focus, resin greeblie chassis with silver, or I should say pewter rub and buff, and then lots of accent painting. So you can see, like with a miniature brush, just some colors here. Various. We do have gotta keep it focused here, 3 Edison filaments underneath this grill. So we'll see that light up, pretty cool. We have a 28mm KR bass speaker. And I did a little bit of silicone filling here so that it's pseudo fully encased. And then you can see here I did some gold accent paints along with just a touch of color. Obviously got the idea from Tim at Tierfon Orbital. So we have our Jedi logo here to match the etched shroud, obviously with a little bit of, I mixed like gold and copper to kind of get some color match there. And then we got some greeblie work over here. Now, what may not show up here in this lighting situation, but one thing I did differently on this one is I busted out some, I've had it on my miniature paints, but I've got like silver and gold. So what I did was, before I clear coated this, like just what you can't tell from this lighting setup is that this almost matches the rub and buff, but it is a silver. And then what ends up happening is it looks gunmetal because the sheen is a little different than that. So I just thought that was pretty cool. And then underneath here, we've got a 2020 Neopixel strip. This is the one with the wider spacing. So you'll see for each grill, there are 2. And then I've subdivided the outer 2 on these little circular greeblies. So there's 3 sub blades here. We do have onboard tactiles. We do also have an OLED and a Bluetooth, so the tactiles aren't fully necessary if you decide to remote control this with the app. I will demonstrate that here later. But because Proffie V3 inverted the switch setup, this is your aux and this is your main. However, on the Saber itself, this is your main and this is your aux. Just because I'm always of the mind, left is power, right is auxiliary. I don't know why I think that. But the nice thing is these are 180 degrees, so depending on if you decide to wield this or like this, you can figure out, do you like your index finger or your thumb as your blaster blocks and all that. But anyway, so I've got the battery in here. Let's take that out real quick. You can see clearly identified labels, spring side's your negative, got Nevin's brand name in there, and then mine right here. So the Proffie is kicked at a 20-degree angle, so you don't ever have to remove it. I will ask you to be mindful if you do go and do a bunch of reprogramming. Just be very mindful about how you pull the cable out. Everything's connected down here, so it's kicked and everything's connected down here. And there isn't a whole lot of slack because there's not a lot of room here for all of the, literally like all of the accent wires come through the bottom here. So we've got, 4 or 5 for the OLED, 4 or 5 for the Bluetooth, 3 that come to 1 for the Edison filaments, and then you've got large 22 gauge wire for the kill switch. But yeah, so let's just pop it on.
The order is gone and I am free.
So there's my little boot up screen. A few of the sound fonts that I programmed, I did throw in some different OLED animations, but this is a returning customer, so he'll know that I included a subfolder with some extra animations should he want to drop those into any presets he decides to create in the future. This is programmed with OS 7, so it has party mode as the first font, just like the last time I did something for him. So here we can see these accents. And you can sort of see that wider spacing. There is a Mylar strip that kind of helps diffuse that. I got that tip from Tim at Tierfon again. On the other Saber, because the Neopixels are more dense, you'll see that as more of a, as less of an individual pixel. So you can sort of see what I was talking about. There's like 2 per grill. Really like this idea with the Edison filaments flashing underneath there, kind of off to the side. So yeah. You do have twist on to activate, twist off. You also have thrust on. But again, if you wanted to change fonts, you can hit the onboard switch here.
Jedi Knight Dargangara.
And then if you wanted to hit power, you can do that here. And then you can see all these accents will do something a little different in the on and off state. Obviously with Edison filaments, there's only so much we can do. But if we hit the flash button, everything reacts. Oops. I actually twisted it back on and off there. So yeah, you can just see some different on and off stuff going on there. Config is on the SD card as well, so if you want to do any reprogramming, you can. Yeah, so when we put it in, you can put it in any which way. Do note that there's a diameter change, so you kind of want to be careful that you don't just jam it in there. Oops, let me get this on camera. And then it'll slide in just fine. And you can see it's a little recessed, but we've got our little cap so that it's not touching the face of the pommel. And then we can see we've got different animations here. Let me go back here.
Party Saber.
All right, so Party Saber is the first font on the preset list. There's, I believe, 25 presets is what I've programmed.
Bodakuna.
Just something a little different on each one.
Master Seer Junda. My name is
Jedi Knight Dargangara.
Centauri.
I will say that when we put our blade in, and again, I believe this is a 7/8 diameter, you won't see that as much, right? So those animations may not always match the color, especially on the Party Saber. You can change the Party Saber like on the fly because it does have the party mode. So you can change the blade colors, but I don't believe I did that. I didn't match the preset to the emitter, so it'll be covered. But I can just throw a quick blade in here. Again, this is your blade retention right here. Plenty loud. It's got a good resonance. Both these hilts do, and I think that's 100% all about the construction. Of course, the placement of the speaker helps as well, and the quality of the KR bass speaker. But so,
Ninth Sister.
I love this font for beefiness. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but oh. That's Kyberphonic. So the client did provide these fonts, by the way. This is, again, a returning customer. So these are all provided by the client. So when we're ready, we can either pull the chassis out and just leave it on display. I believe it's a timer of 10 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, but you can hit the kill switch. So let me pause this. I'll bust out my other device so we can see the Bluetooth functionality. All right, so I busted out the old iPhone 5 so we can see how to connect this because I filmed this with my new iPhone, so I'm going to boot the Saber.
Bit slow these days, eh, Kestis?
Okay, so you can't see it on the board itself, but I did install a capacitor. Yeah, it's just not going to focus. So that if you ever decide to use, what is it called? Something saver mode. It will turn off these devices, but essentially the timer will also do that. So when the timer times out and the onboard LEDs go to sleep, so does the Bluetooth, so it doesn't drain the batteries. But anyway, so we hit the force sync app. I think I did pair this once before, so I may not remember. Searching for Sabers. So there's our BT909. We just hit connect, and now we tell it we're on Proffie. And we can remote control. So can also shove it in the Saber. So we can change presets.
Liquid static.
Right, we can play a track. I think it will only play the assigned track. This does have track player mode as well as quote player mode. I've covered that in previous videos for the client, so I'm not going to go into it. Anything that is not covered in this video, by the way, I'll have a printout for the client. It is very much the same as the setups I've done for him in the past, so it's nothing new there. I won't cover it in this video. But yeah, we can just, remote control. Here we go.
Carvey.
Go ahead and put the pommel on so I can show you the emitter through the blade plug. So, yeah. I haven't tested the range of this, by the way. I can see if I can pull it away here. All right, so I've got my arm at about 3 feet. So, plenty of distance, at least for, doing stuff in probably for photography. Yeah, so that'll cover this part. Right now, let's show off a couple blade styles so that we can see. This is programmed for a 32-inch blade length because I believe that's what our arrangement is for this customer. If that needs to be updated, again, the config is on the SD card and you can push whatever you like. I did set this up, like I said, for 25 presets. All of the fonts were previously included either on the SD card from the original Saber install or from me dealing with this customer in the past. Edit mode is available on here, so you can, in fact, let me demonstrate that real quick. See if I remember how to do it. So I think I'm in edit mode now.
Edit style.
You can hear, this is the new
Edit color.
Huyang.
Edit font. Edit color. Exit.
So it's got the new Huyang voice pack from Ksys, so thanks to Keenan for that. He did that for free. That being said, everything that edit mode can do is on a printout or on the FET263 library. I do not go into that. It's very deep. However, I do make the main blade the first blade so that if that's the only thing you want to change, edit mode is real easy. You jump into edit mode, change color, pick the first blade, change the blade color, save it, you're done, and then you're good to go. So let's hop out. let's talk about what's going on with the blade, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, so we covered quite a bit of what went on with the chassis. Now I'm just going to show off a couple blade styles so that the customer knows that everything's functioning normally. Again, this is a 32-inch length, 7/8 diameter blade with a KR pixel stick. I'm going to use this for the other demo as well with an adapter, even though that's a 1-inch diameter emitter, because this is my only KR pixel stick and it usually shows up better on screen. So that being said, we talked about the chassis design and all the accents and what went on with the emitter. So party mode would be the first preset. I showed off Ezra at the beginning. That's something a little different. These were sound fonts provided to me by the customer. Most of these are Kyberphonic or Grayscale or K-Sith or standard Proffie fonts. But so the party mode is obviously that big Survivor bundle that came out over the summer that I previously installed on a scrap killer that I went kind of all out on. So that's sort of why I went all out with this pretty greeblie intense chassis. So we're on Ezra right now, which is one of the new Ahsoka series fonts. I didn't include all of the ones in the presets, although they are on the SD card, mostly because I wanted to save space for the customer to have whatever he wants to put on the config. There's about 10% of space on each of these two sabers I'm going to demo today. And with Proffie V 3.9 and OS 7, you can actually do quite a bit with 10%, which is about 20% on the V2s. So, showed off Ezra there at the beginning. Let's just move on to the next one. I don't really remember what I've programmed. So this will be a Grayscale font. So again, this will be the blade style that was provided by Grayscale that was previously installed. Again, if the shroud is facing you, left is power, right is aux. So we can either choose to engage regular mode, which would just be power. We'll get a pre-on, kind of lengthy. Really cool. It's kind of washed out with the ambient lighting in the room here, but it's very red, orangey. So you'll notice I'm not engaging lockups because I've just done regular mode. The gesture on controls will jump you into battle mode, which means you won't have to press a button to engage lockups. So you will on this mode. So I'm going to show a lockup real quick. Hold aux to clash the saber. All right, now we're in lockup until I let go of the button, and then same goes for melt and drag. All right. So let's go to the beginning.
Party Saber.
All right, so we're on the very first preset. This is Party Saber. So if we want to go backwards, what I was doing there was pointing the hilt down.
Battery level.
And so now I'm on the battery level. You can access the battery level on demand.
Battery level 86%.
And you've got the Hu Yang voice pack on this. Although what you just heard for battery level is actually the font battery level. So you'll get an announcement if you hold aux and tap power.
Battery level 87%.
And because we have this out to the tip, it's about that. Move forward, hit aux.
Party Saber.
So Party Saber is the one I mentioned in previous videos that when it rolled out featured all the new abilities with the FET263 prop file and OS 7. So we have special abilities. I've covered it before, so I'm just going to show it here. I'm not going to explain all of the things how to do it. I will say though, what I did was when I first installed this Sabers for the client, I don't believe they had the transition sound ready, or if they did, I downloaded beforehand. So when we do party mode and we want to go into the random, you'll hear that transition sound now. So here now I'm in party mode. When I swing the saber a hard swing, it'll change colors. And it also change sound color. Obviously with this ambient lighting set up again, the colors don't show up as well. You can see green, blue, in indigo. Well, I don't know if this is purple or indigo. Back to green. So anyway, oops. That's party mode.
Bodakuna.
Got the rest of the Survivor fonts from the bundle as the next set of presets. So we'll just
Master Seer Junda.
skip over this.
My name is Jedi Knight. Centauri. Ninth Sister.
I will say Ninth Sister is becoming my favorite because of how beefy the font is, which on these two Space Junk Sabers actually sounds really good. Nevin did a great job for me to set up getting a good resonance chamber. So with this 28mm KR bass speaker, it sounds awesome. Probably not going to sound great on camera because I'm just using my iPhone. That hum, oof. Love it.
Liquid static.
So I will mention, if I haven't already down below, that color change mode may act differently depending on which preset you are on, because some of these were using OS 6 styles from the font makers, some are using OS 7 styles, so you'll just know. But to get into color change mode, just like the battery, hold aux and tap power when the Saber's on. So you'll get a sound, and now you'll hear Huyang announce the color.
Navajo white, lemon shofar.
But if you want to accept, press power. What may be happening, depending on which preset, is maybe the chassis accents are also changing. So if that's not something you want to happen, you would go into edit mode. Go into edit mode and change each blade color individually, or set it up in the config and you don't have to change it on the fly. But I'm going to cancel by hitting aux. But you would accept by hitting power. So that being said, it's very much set up as the other Sabers. So I'm just going to show off a couple more blade styles and we'll wrap it up. We got the two-tone from the OS 7 library, FET, just like it was in the animated series. Again, like with most of my installs, preons are only accessible through the power button. If you twist on, bypass them. This one I think does color change direct, so you won't get into the color wheel. And again, it may not show up on camera, but we go from white to purple. You can see that with the ambient on my arm.
I am a Jedi.
Morgan has that.
I did put some of the new Ahsoka series fonts on here. All the fonts are on the SD card. I did not program all them as presets, but this does have Brian Connor's new Morgan Elsbeth's Blade of Talzin effect. So this is probably not going to look great on camera, but pretty cool. Sort of has like a smoke blade effect where there's parts of the blade that aren't colored, but you have like green and blues. This is a customer that had the first version of Blade of Talzin, so that will be on the SD card but not programmed. So the font will just be there for you, which comes from the animated series.
Master window!
Shinati.
So another one.
Balan skull.
Wrong.
To the client, I will say you had shared a config for me when you were asking my help about something. So I believe these blade styles I stole from that because that was for a build you were doing with another maker that was specifically for the Ahsoka series, I believe. So these few blade styles that I did program came from that. And if you've made any changes since you shared it with me, you may want to update the config.
Ezra?
Now we're back to what I started the demo off with, so I'm just going to leave it here. To the customer, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm sure you will. There's a lot going on here. Everything is on the SD card with the config, so if you need to, just reference that. Definitely check out the FET263 site with all the new OS 7 information. I will have a printout for you for this particular setup, but it is very much the same as the last two Sabers I did for you over the summer, with the exception being some presets got swapped out so we could show off these new ones. And then I had to remove a few just so there's extra space for you to do some extra programming as you see fit. I believe the ones on the summer I maxed out. So hope you enjoy it. Have any questions, let me know. To the viewers, thanks for watching. This is probably a real lengthy one, but again, a lot of this just goes to the customer so that they can know exactly what went on with their install and feel that they got their money's worth. Thanks for watching.